Hey everyone, it's Cartoon here. I'm just chilling on my new winged lion that I just got from Blizzard. You know, would have wasted money, but it's whatever. It looks cool. And this is my first tutorial on how to show you 3 basic things about a mage. If you're looking to get into PvP, if you're looking to start getting into the top tier, you have to know these essentials. For one, it's talents. Talents are very important, and some of them, if you don't have the right ones, it could affect your gameplay. And then there's 2. There's Glyphs. Glyphs are also very important because they show you very key essentials in very key situations of Arena or PvP itself. And then there's 3, Gear and Gems. Gems are important because it keeps you, from dying or, a ton of your percentage of spell power, resilience, all of that stuff. That all comes from gems. And enchants, of course. Like that. Alright, before we get started, I'm going to just go ahead and show my armory and let you all know that you can go to my armory and find all of my specs, all of my gems, all of my enchants, anything you can name. And the link will be appearing below. So if you have any questions or anything like that, just go to this link and then, study it for yourself. Or you can ask me in game, PM me on YouTube, my email, anything like that. Okay, so first we're going to start with talents. Talents is a very important thing in a game because it basically gives you all of your utility and most of your damage. Honestly, it's the most important thing you can have as a character. If you don't have talents, you need to get But for Frost PvP, I like to run a 2 in Arcane, 8 in Fire, 31 in Frost spec. And for 2 in Arcane, of course you're going to get the improved counterspell, 2 out of 2. And then for 8 and Fire, you just get 3 out of 3 Burning Soul. You can find all this stuff on my armory. But I'm just going to point out the few most important things. For Fire, it's very important because you get 2 out of 2 in Impact, and you get 1 in Blazing Speed. Blazing Speed is a 5% chance when you're hit by a melee or ranged, instead, a hunter attack or heroic throw by warriors or all that stuff. You get a 50% chance movement speed increase. That lasts for 8 seconds, and it dispels all of your effects that are impairing your movement, which is basically like a PvP trinket. All the stuff that, is slowing you down, or like crippling poison, hamstring, all that stuff. And then you have Impact. Impact is a 10% chance to reset the cooldown on Fire Blast to cause the next Fire Blast to cast a stun for 2 seconds. That's a 2-second stun with a DR, a diminishing return, which can go to per stun you have, it's 1/2 of the duration, and then it's 1/4 of the duration. And those are the basic, fire importances throughout the spec. And then for Frost, mostly my most important ones are, of course, you get all this Icy Veins, Cold Snap, Ice Barrier, all that, important stuff. The 3 most important things I want to point out in this spec is that I like to get Cone of Cold, improved Cone of Cold, because it's like another Nova, but it's, half, of course. And it's, as opposed to like Shattered Barrier. Shattered Barrier is not exactly the most controlled Nova that you have, and it still has a diminishing return, and it shares with improved Cone of Cold. So you don't want Shattered Barrier, like, it's just not controlled enough. You can't control the game in it, where, if you need to Cone of Cold someone, if you don't have any Novas up and you pet Novas up, you can obviously, hit your Cone of Cold, and then they'll be stuck for 4 seconds, or whatever the DR is. And then, of course, the improved Freeze. That's very important for Mage PvP because, when you're casting and you put your pet Nova over someone to, cast a Shatter or whatever, you get these 2 charges of Fingers of Frost. And Fingers of Frost, basically, it treats them as they were frozen. So you could get your Ice Lance, triple damage and all that stuff. And then, if the Nova breaks, you have improved Freeze, so you still have 2 Fingers of Frost charges, so you can, keep hitting Ice Lance and all that stuff. And then, one of the most important things to me is Frostfire Orb. I think of Frostfire Orb as a Fingers of Frost generator. If you throw it at someone, each time that the Frostfire Orb hits them, because it has a Frost chill effect, it makes them eligible for creating another Fingers of Frost stack. And Fingers of Frost, is just, throwing out Ice Lances or whatever, but Frostfire Orb, I mean, I think it hits about, what, 12 times, and it slows the target for 40% for 4 seconds, and it's not even a magic effect. Like, I don't even think you can dispel it. So that's a very useful thing, and it only has a minute cooldown. It's much better than a Flame Orb that just basically does, 1k damage every second for 12 seconds. That doesn't really do anything. It's not that big of a deal. But yeah, that's basically the most important things out of talents. So yeah. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the glyphs. The glyphs are not, like, only the major glyphs are the most important things, basically, except for this, slow fall glyph. But I'm going to start with the prime glyphs. The prime glyphs, I like to use Glyph of Frostfire. Not many mages like to use this, but I think of it as an extra dot for, if there's a rogue after you, you can just have your Brain Freeze proc and just throw a Frostfire bolt at them, and what can they do? They can't re-stealth, they have a dot on them. And it ticks for every 3 seconds. I mean, it's not a very good dot. It hits for, like, 80. It's not that big of a deal. But it is a dot, and it will knock people out of stealth, anything. And it lasts for 12 seconds also. And I use Glyph of Ice Lance, 5% more damage on, your Ice Lance. And then Glyph of Cone of Cold, which is 25% more damage on Cone of Cold. It does help. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. Some people like to use, personal preference-wise, you could use Frostbolt and get, 5% more crit chance on Frostbolt. But I like Cone of Cold, just because I use it a ton. And then we're going to move on to the major glyphs. I'm going to start with the Glyph of Polymorph. The Glyph of Polymorph is an extremely, extremely good thing to have, because if you're on one target in arena, say you're on the Rogue, and you're against Rogue Priest or something like that, and you're on the Rogue, but he has dots on it from, whatever class you're playing with, you need to switch to the Priest, but you don't want your Rogue to be eating, yourself or your partner or whoever. You can sheep the Rogue, and then you can switch off to the Priest, and then your Rogue, or the Rogue that you were on before, doesn't have any dots on it because of this glyph. This glyph removes all damage over time effects from the target. So it's extremely important for when you're CCing. You also don't accidentally CC a target that has dots on it. It's just a wasted CC. I mean, it's a very important thing to have. And then you move on to the Glyph of Frost Armor. The Glyph of Frost Armor is very important because it's like if you put on Frost Armor and you're against some kind of a melee cleave or something like that, and you put on Frost Armor, you're going to go very fast. Very fast. Like, you won't even be able to stand a chance. And Mage Armor is just not that beneficial against, rogues and warriors because it doesn't do anything. But when you have this glyph, it regenerates 2% of your maximum mana every 5 seconds. So that's almost as much mana as Mage Armor. And the Frost Armor, what it does, it basically slows, all their melee attack speed, it slows their movement speed. I mean, it's all that stuff, and it really helps against melee. And then, of course, there's the Glyph of Evocation. This is the most common glyph. As you're regaining mana, you also regain the equivalent amount of health with the mana when you evocate. It's just a necessity. Always pick it up. Glyph of Slow Fall is important because it's a minor glyph that basically it's another magic effect on you. So when someone is spamming dispels on you, it'll be just another cost of a dispel because you have Glyph of Slow Fall. And you can put it on yourself without having to have a stupid light feather or whatever they give you, or whatever. It's just useful. I mean, you're gonna need it. And then moving on, we're gonna go to the gear portion of this tutorial. Basically, I mean, you can find all of my reforging and enchants and all of that. Like, I'm gonna go over gems and I'm gonna go over gear choice, basically. But you can find all of my enchants and all my reforging on the website, and it all calculates out to a pretty good composition. So basically, what you want to do, your most important stats are, spell power. Haste is not that important. Hit, you want to be at 4% hit for PvP. 4% is capped, and so you'll never miss. You want to be at about 200 penetration, which is pretty easy. I mean, you only have to have one piece of PvP here to cap that. Crit, that's a pretty important one. Like, besides spell power and resilience, you want to go for crit. And basically my gear only goes to about 4 gems. These 4 gems consist of an orange, a purple, a yellow, and a meta gem. The orange, you're going to need about 5 of these. They're called Willful Ember Topaz. It's a mouthful. And they're 20 intellect and 20 resilience. And you'll need purple gems, which are called Veiled Demon's Eye. That's it. And it's 20 intellect and 20 hit rating. And you only need one of those. So that's pretty good. And then you'll need 4 of these yellow gems, which are called Mystic Amber Jewels. They're the 40 resilience yellow jewels. You can buy them anywhere. And then of course you're going to need the meta. The meta is more preference. I mean, it's really depending on what you want for your meta, but I like to run with the Chaotic Shadow Spirit Diamond, which is 54 crit or 54 crit rating and 3% increased crit damage. So when you crit, you get 3% more damage basically. Alright, so basically you're going to match every gem with the slot except for 2, and these are the only ones I'm going to show you. The others, you just have to match up the color, you know, put the orange in the red slots and the yellow in the yellow and all that stuff, and the purple in the blue. But the only ones I'm going to show you are these 2. Okay, so basically it's the belt, the Vicious Cord of Cruelty. I mean, whatever belt you have really. It consists of a blue, and with the Ebon Still belt buckle you have an extra prismatic slot. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to put a Mystic Amber Jewel in the belt, and then you're going to put a Willful Ember Topaz in the other slot. It really doesn't matter which one you're getting because you're not really going after the set bonus here, or the soccer bonus. And then the gloves, that's the only one that you also don't do. You just put a Mystic Amber Jewel in there, and where the blue slot should be, and that's about it. Those are the only that aren't color matched up. I'll just do a quick rundown so you guys can see this, and that's basically it. Alright everyone, I hope you enjoyed my first tutorial on glyphs, talents, gems, gear, all that stuff, and I hope that it benefits you for this. And if the gear, you know, statistics and all that priority changes, then keep an eye out for it, because I'll probably make another tutorial for you. So good luck. Happy PvP. Have fun. Please subscribe. Yes, please do that.